Hello, you guys. Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today, we're going to be covering Marissa Matthews wrote a poem about the rise of thinness. So, we're going to react to it together. I think for the time being, I'm probably going to be, well, we'll see. I'm not making like a hard rule, but I think I need to make shorter content for a while. I'm really tired, honestly. Um, it's tough. So, and then I'm trying to find like a work life balance again. Like, there's just certain things that I have to do at this time in my life where I'm like figuring shit out. But obviously, I'm still here and I want to continue. I do want to show you guys something. One second. So as it starts to get colder, we have a new Georgie. I have a new one. So this one has like a little bit, well, no, I think it's similar pockets, but this one's a large. So isn't that crazy? My other Georgie was a 3X, but I found one and I was happy, so I got it today. But yeah, I'm really tired, honestly. It's really hard. I probably should talk more about how hard it has been. Um, I should probably do a health update again, but it's tough. The journey is tough. Like, at this stage, it's really, really difficult. That's all I can say. Um, the vanity weight era it's similar to the super morbid era. It's kind of getting similar where it's not as bad, but it is like second bad. Like, it's the second worst. So it's tough, basically. I just need to reiterate, it is tough. If you're going through it, if you're pursuing beauty or you're pursuing this type of stuff, know that I'm doing it too, and we're doing it together, and it is tough, but I'm doing it. So, anyways, I'm sure I'll be able to film longer on some days, but on other days, I can't. So, anyways, let's go ahead and do this. The Rise of Thinness by Marissa Matthews. Here we go again. The Rise of Thinness. A wave we've seen through our screens. I have to, well, I guess I could try to, well, she kind of like blasts through it. Anyways. A wave we've seen before, sweeping through our screens, trying to swallow us whole. Okay. So what I find interesting about this, we're going to break it down as we go through, or maybe I should just read the whole thing and then go back. Let's do that. They want us distracted, consumed. If we're fixated on our bodies, there's no space left to protest, no energy to notice. See how fast she did it? No energy to notice the injustices bleeding through every border, compounding on every street. If we're stuck in the mirror counting calories like confessions, we won't have the strength to fight the patriarchy, to burn down the systems that are burning us out. Because if we shrink ourselves down to nothing, how can we rise against anything? The rise of thinness is not a trend. It's a tactic, intentional, strategic. It's designed to distract, to devour our minds until there's no room left for revolution. If we're busy chasing thigh gaps, hustling for the number on the scale, we'll forget to count how many days we've been at war, not just with our bodies, but with each other, with our government, with injustice, with greed. They want us too tired to care, too obsessed to notice, too hungry to fight. This isn't new. It's the same old poison dressed up in new filters, fed to us through workout routines and thinspo algorithms. But you don't have to swallow it. Don't let them win. Ignore skinny talk, resist the urge to vanish, grow louder, take up space, more than usual, more than ever, be bold, be whole, be a disruption. Because while they want us weighing our worth, real battles rage on. Fighting against the hoarding of the rich, fighting the housing crisis, fighting ICE, fighting every system built to keep us small. There are wars to wage, and they want us busy hating our skin suits so we forget we are souls. They want us obsessed with something so trivial, so distant from the real human experience. Because when we remember our power, they lose theirs, and that's when we have the opportunity to win. Wow. All right, let's go back. We're going to break it down piece by piece. I think what I want to say, just to start with, this is kind of like spiritually, so it's probably going to sound cringy to people, but I don't really care. I think what she's describing on a spiritual level, it has to do with being in the higher vibrational chakras too much and not rooted enough in your body, or not rooted enough in reality. It's essentially like you're too focused on the greater good, or like the big picture, the collective. You're too focused on really the higher chakras. So throat, third eye, and crown. So it's like you're thinking about the collective all the time. You're thinking about the future and not the present. And you're thinking about you need to fight, like politically or whatever. Any kind of way, really. Or you need to speak your mind, speak up. But when we ignore the other chakras, particularly like the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, we lose reality. What that means is like you lose your ego, your sense of self. You lose your identity if you lose your solar plexus. You lose your like hormone health if you lose your sacral, and you lose your root, which is like your physical health, or your ability to like be grounded in reality, essentially. And I feel like that's what a lot of fat acceptance is on a spiritual level. It's totally imbalanced. Of movement is purely in the head. It's not in the body at all. And there's no heart in it. Not really. There's no body in it. Like you're cutting yourself off. And that's what I hear with this. So it's like when we are not rooted in reality, we cannot be effective in pretty much any area of our life or in any of our grand goals. We're not free to pursue our own personal life goals very well. And we're not able to pursue our higher collective goals either. Because if you're not, people say all the time, like you need to be the change you want to see in the world. And if you're ignoring your body, then that's a part of that, because you're not able to effectively rally, gather, have any kind of argumentation or anything at all, or really make any progress at all. You're kind of stuck. And I think it's just important, because when we lose touch with the ground, we lose touch with reality. When you lose reality, you lose a vision. When you lose a vision, your goals are just not really, you're not really working towards anything. Because if we think about this, what is she actually fighting for? She's fighting to be fat without criticism. That's her real goal. She may mention other things, but it's not really about the other things. She may mention her politics, but it's not even really about her politics. What she fights for, what she speaks on, what she's writing a poem about is about fatness. The goal of collective fatness, the goal of everybody being as fat as possible, essentially. And she would say that's not true, blah, blah, blah. But it is true, because you're not even just arguing against yourself. being thin, you're also arguing against other people being thin, which is in fact promoting obesity, which she would say, I'm not, but I would say, yes, you are. Because while you might try to dress it up in some kind of flowery language or some kind of political rallying cry, at the end of the day, what are you fighting for? What is your goal? To be fat. So let's break it down piece by piece. Here we are again, the rise of thinness, a wave we've seen before, sweeping through our screens, trying to swallow us whole. Already, this is a bit delusional because it never went away, for one. This has never actually gone away. I will say at this point in time, I do see it becoming much more of a trend. It's kind of surprising, to be honest. I think there's just a lot of factors going on right now where people want to get in shape. I think there's a lot of different reasons. There's positive reasons. There's negative reasons. There's, I've mentioned, for example, the cost of food. That's a huge part of it. That if we're talking about it from, a grand scale or macrocosmic lens, that would be something that's leading to it. But also, the panini is over. We're trying to get past that. I think as a collective, people are wanting to get past it and look towards happier times or wanting to move on from that time period. So that's also a part of it because a lot of people put on weight during that time. So you also have the rise of Ozempic. That's come through. That's changed the paradigm for a lot of people that specifically struggled with hormonal issues in regard to downsizing. That has come in and that has changed the conversation to be also including things like hormonal conversation. You also have the rise of anti-FA. You have people like me. You have your anti-FA activists. You have people that have stepped into this space during this time. And I think when you have all of those layers coming together, then you have a real movement coming together. And I think that that's why this is happening so much. Now, when we're looking at the idea of thinness or this or that or the other, that never really changed. I don't know why they believe that, but I think that's kind of like a revisionist history. It's a nostalgia for the past that's not really rooted in reality. They want us distracted, consumed. If we're fixated on our bodies, there's no space left to protest, no energy to fight, no energy to notice the injustices bleeding through every border, compounding on every street. So I don't even think this is even close to being relevant unless if you're super morbidly obese, because at that phase, it is really, really tough. Even for me now in my vanity weight era where it's under that super morbid, I'm not hungry. That's the only thing that's easier. Other than that, it's pretty similar to when I was morbid. It sucks. But I can still think about other issues. I can still balance and spin other plates during a vanity weight era. It is just challenging and there's limits. So there is that, but I can still pay attention to things. And if anything, on some levels, I can look at things really deep. On other levels, I can't really always organize my thoughts as well, or there's certain issues that I have sometimes where I can't, for me specifically at least, I cannot look at the surface level of things. I look very deep. For example, I've been really looking at like the Swifties, specifically Swifties hating the new album. It's like fascinating to me. For the record, I don't hate the album. I like it a lot. I'm totally happy, to be honest. So it's really weird to me And the discourse around it is really bizarre. I've never seen a launch like this in all of my years of being a Swiftie, which is quite a while. Like, I've been one probably since, 2014 or something like that. It's been a long time. So that's, I can get distracted with stuff like that where it's easy for me to like get sucked in really deep, but I can still pay attention to things. It's just sometimes it is harder to stay completely organized, or go as long as I used to, or, these types of things. It's like I do have less energy in general. Okay, but you can still look at stuff is all I'm trying to say. If we're stuck in the mirror counting calories like confessions, we won't have the strength to fight the patriarchy, to burn down the systems that are burning us out. If you do not stay rooted in your body, then you may not know what the future you're fighting for even looks like. You might lose a vision. And that's true for any political goal. Like, again, I don't want to... This isn't about the politics. It's more about the issue itself. Any political goal you have, it could lose perspective if you're unhealthy. If you're mentally not well, if you're physically not well, it could alter your perception, and it could also alter your ability to connect with others. So if you don't know what that looks like or what you're fighting towards or fighting for, then it's a problem. And I think that blurriness can happen, like we saw with the person that was, comparing Ozempic to what in the video I did yesterday or for yesterday. That's an example of these issues causing somebody to lose perspective or to lose a goal. Okay. To burn down the systems that are burning us out. I think it's important to consider that being super morbidly obese burns you out. I think that, taking care of yourself while being stuck in the mirror and counting calories can be toxically ritualistic if done absolutely obsessively or to like a toxic level. They're not bad in and of themselves. And it's important to separate that from the issue, from the DIS order, because they're not the same thing. Okay, let's continue. Because if we shrink ourselves down to nothing, how can we rise against anything? So again, this goes back into this idea that to lose weight is to lose yourself or to die, essentially to die. So this is a big thing they're pushing a lot this year. I've seen this a lot. And remember, this is just from 6 days ago. So this is really recent. So they've been pushing that to lose weight is to die, which is a really weird thing to say, but it makes sense from a toxic ritualistic perspective because your identity is so enmeshed, not even just in the fatness, but in the DIS order. People that have the toxic ritualistic, they identify with it. It becomes a part of your identity in a way that other mental health issues, they can as well, but it's especially potent within toxic ritualistic. It's like you don't even realize it. It's like you're not even aware. It's so deep. But that's why. So to not do the toxic ritualistic would be to die, essentially, is the feeling. The rise of thinness is not a trend. It's a tactic, intentional, strategic. It's designed to distract, to devour our minds until there's no room left for revolution. So I would say that it can work the other way too. I think that the toxic ritualistic, I don't know if it's a tactic. I think that that's a little bit too paranoid. But I do think that it may be a tactic to keep people in it as long as they can, or teach people they can never leave it, teach people you can never heal from it, you can never get into remission, you're always going to struggle with it. You can teach people these things. That is a tactic, which I don't most of the time the tactic is toxic ritualistic reinforcement. That's the most common form of a tactic around fatness. It's just, I have this problem, I don't want to get out of it, so I don't want you to get out of it. Because if you get out of it, then it makes me question what I'm doing. It might break the spell or break the delusion. So I have to enforce that you continue so that I can continue. It's very selfish. It's not the most strategic, like on a grand scale, but it is strategic on an individual level. And the toxic ritualistic is designed to distract and devour our minds. In a lot of ways, it's to distract from the trauma that we faced. It's to devour our minds in the sense that we don't think about things that are really bothering us. We just think about our bodies, or we just think about food. You think about, or a diet, right? So you think about those three things because that's a way to use up your energy or to take up space in your mind. And one of the hardest things in recovery and post-recovery is to fill your mind with other stuff because people don't understand how much mental bandwidth it actually takes up. And it can actually cause an identity crisis in a severe person to give it up, which it happened to me. And even afterwards, there was a listlessness. I felt like I lost my religion, I said that a lot at the time. It was really hard. But, a year and change down the line, and I'm doing pretty good. So you can do it. You can. If we're busy chasing thigh gaps, hustling for the number on the scale, we'll forget to count how many days we've been at war, not just with our bodies, but with each other, with our government, with injustice, with greed. So I think that you can do more than one thing at a time. I think that this is a stupid thing to say. I understand if you're super morbidly obese, maybe there's a little bit of nuance there where you'd really have to focus on it, but that doesn't last forever. It just doesn't. In other phases of weight loss, you definitely can focus on other things. They want us too tired to care, too obsessed to notice, too hungry to fight. I think that obesity causes those things more than people would like to believe. Obesity makes you hungry. The toxic ritualistic makes you obsessed. And obesity makes you tired. This isn't new. It's the same old poison dressed up in new filters, fed to us through workout routines and blank SPO algorithms. So that is, I think she's just trying to reinforce there. I don't even know if she's trying to make a statement. She's trying to demonize all content around downsizing by trying to elicit old feelings in people that are reading this to keep them from looking at that stuff. Essentially, it's like, don't look at it. It's not new. You've seen it before. Blah, blah, blah. Right. That kind of thing. But you don't have to swallow it. Don't let them win. There's the reinforcement coming in. There's her strategy. Ignore skinny talk. Resist the urge to vanish. Grow louder. See, vanishing. So weight loss is death and vanishment. Vanishing. Disappearing. It's interesting. Super toxic ritualistic. Super DIS ordered, by the way. Take up space more than usual. More than ever. Be bold, be whole, be a disruption. I think that I've done a lot more to disrupt things in my activism than I ever have. I think that getting in shape and standing against this stuff has been so much more of a boldness. I have been so much more whole in recovery than I've ever been in my whole life. I've been, like I said, more disruptive, and I've been louder. I've yelled so much on this channel, my gosh. So no, I am tired these days, but it will not last forever at all. It won't. So no. Because while they want us weighing our worth, Real battles rage on. It's toxic ritualistic. Your worth and weight are not aligned. They're not the same thing. Fighting against the hoarding of the rich, fighting the housing crisis, fighting ICE, fighting every system built to keep us small. So these are just like political statements that she's trying to use to bolster toxic ritualistic reinforcement, which like I told you guys is very, very common because it is primarily a belief system. So people use belief systems to bolster it. There are wars to wage, and they want us busy hating our skin suits so we forget we are souls. So then she's going into a pseudo-spiritual appeal as well, which is very common within fat acceptance. It is, there are, it's a pseudo-political movement and a pseudo-spiritual thing too. Because they make these appeals to the soul, for example. That's a spiritual concept. So, which is interesting in my Lana era or in my vanity weight era where I have felt very spiritual. I see it so deeply. I'm like, oh, they're trying to find some form of spirituality within fat acceptance and within the toxic ritualistic, which I've told you guys, it is like a toxic religion. That's the more similar way to think about it. It is a ritual. So I call it the toxic ritualistic for a reason, because it is ritualistic. It is based on delusional beliefs and fears and things like that. So, yeah. So it makes sense that they tend to go into that spiritual direction often. They want us obsessed with something so trivial, so distant from the real human experience, because when we remember our power, they lose theirs, and that's when we have the opportunity to win. So again, more spiritual stuff here. Again, I think, if I want to be an armchair psychologist, they could be the toxic ritualistic. The DIS order wants us to be obsessed with something trivial, i.e. how we look, so distant from the human experience, because when we remember our power, it loses its power, and I think that's true of getting into recovery too. Like, you can even use these words against the toxic ritualistic, because when you fight it and you find your power against it, then the actual problem also loses its power over you. Because when you test those beliefs, you take a brave step, you see that it's not real, then you get more strength, you get more courage, and it loses power over you. Lest we forget, it loses power over you. Okay. And that's when you have the opportunity to win. Okay, so that's it. So let me know what you guys think about this. I know this is kind of weird. I know I've had somebody complain. They're like, you go around in circles, blah, blah, blah. It's probably going to be that way. It probably will. I think it's where my brain is at these days. I know it's not necessarily for everybody. I get that, but it has to be done. I've got to continue. I'm going to continue. And yeah, every day is a winding road. No, I'm just kidding. But I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. Peace out. Bye.